We're recording. How you doing, Erin?
Good to go.
Excellent. Well, welcome everyone. Erin and I have been doing we've kind of been doing one of these a month for maybe 2 months now. It's a trend. We're
Yeah,
going to keep it up.
we are. We are.
um, I met Erin through some ministry things, through some plexus things, through a whole bunch of several different things. But we have deeply connected on holistic health and all of that, like wholeness, whole body, spirit, mind, physical, mental, what we eat, what we move, all those things. And so tonight we wanted to come and do a workshop on rhythms and routines. And please know from first things first, we are not coming at this like we're the expert. Come do all these things and your life will be perfect. No, we are in the nitty gritty. We are in the nitty gritty of it. We fail, we mess up, we try again. We've just maybe tried a couple more things than the average human, and we've probably messed up a couple more times than the average human, and maybe read a few more books than the average human. I'm not sure. I feel like we're pretty good about like listening to helpful things and sending each other helpful things and reading good books and taking what we can from it and whatnot. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, Erin sent me a podcast about rhythms and routines, which kind of began this whole conversation. So, Erin, would you share a little bit about the difference between them? Because I don't fully understand that, as well as why this topic is important to you before we dive into like really helpful, tangible things.
Yes. So I appreciate all that. And I second everything that she just said as far as like how the Lord connected us and how it has been just a blessing for both of us to have the connection in our business and in our personal lives. It's just been so life-giving. When I mean that she brings me down, I mean she really brings me down. Like we're like the yin and the yang in a good way, not in
Yeah.
a bad way, like the good way of that. So I will say like rhythms and routines, I'm a single woman, but I have worked careers where routine was key. Social work for 13 and a half years. I've been doing Plexus full time for 10 years. Recently, just added nutritional therapy practitioner to my belt of professions. And so, having a routine and rhythms, there's a difference. And the way that it was explained in this teaching that I sent her, it made so much sense to me because as a single person, I can have more flexibility than say what Jamie has or other moms that are listening into this call have as far as or grandmoms whatever your season of life is at, you might need that structure of those routines, those things. So routines in my eyes are something that happens every single day. Now, and you could even get as picky to say that routines happen the same time frame every single day. Like if Jamie has her work day where she's at the clinic and she has to go see patients, then she has a routine in the morning that she needs to stick to in order to get out the door. And those things need to be done beforehand, before leaving. Now, a rhythm is something that is more of a goal or a something that's like a freedom, like a luxury, so to speak. But I don't want to call it a luxury because I think that there are rhythms that are necessities in order for us to be not just productive, but just good humans. Like we need to have a rhythm. Like speaking of like in a marriage, you need to have a rhythm of dating your spouse. Whether it is literally 10 minutes on the tractor while someone is doing something with the kids, or you go, I mean, it could be anything, but I think that having that rhythm and that mindset to know that like that can fit in might not be every day. Obviously, probably not going to be every day as far as like dating your spouse, so to speak. But it can be something that happens more so on the weekends or even weeknights. So routines are more daytime type things as far as like having to get these things done. Like I have to feed my dog every day. I brush my teeth every day. I wash my face before bed. Those are routines, whereas rhythms as far as like I said, doing the date night for mom and dad, doing a family devotional time. That can be a flexible flow, like free flowing thing that we want to make sure happens sometimes every week or every other week, whatever that looks like for the season that you're in with your family. But having something special like termed like that might not be able to be there every single day per se. So again, just to go over that, rhythms are a goal or necessity, freedom, whatever you want to call it, to be able to put wherever you need it to be. And a routine is something that happens every single day. So one of the things for me is that I have a rhythm of I'm a single person, but I am like I'm not into going out to the bar scene. So I go out in on dates either with myself or I ask my friends to go out to do something. This weekend I went to the movies. I need that rhythm of like going out and doing things outside of my house. I have church and I have some other volunteer things that I do, but actually just like fun, free flowing things like going out, being social, that's a rhythm for me that usually happens on the weekend. So, um, the one thing that I want to say, and then I'll flip it back over to James so she can get some of her talk in, but having the pressure of a routine, like if it's not fitting into your season of life, and Jamie will certainly talk on this in the things that she does in her day-to-day routines, but if something is not fitting into your season of life, hold it loosely. Does it have to be there? Does it have to be at the same capacity? I know for myself, when I was working social work, I did not um, think about that, and I tried to fit so many things into a certain time frame that just did not allow, and did not have a good idea or even framework of determining what would be a routine and what would be a rhythm. But really just didn't have that understanding of knowing like am I trying to make something work? Like putting literally like a circle into a square hole and making it like thinking it's going to fit, like that doesn't always happen. And knowing like the season that you're in and the capacity, those two
Mm-hmm.
things are always to remember, are always good to remember. Like, do you have the capacity right now? And is this the right season for this? So I've got some more to touch on, but I'm going to bounce it over to her.
That's so important. And I mean, I always thought they were the same thing. So like hearing that spelled out and like one is more flexible and one more like has to fit into your life where the other one is like literally the structure that you're built upon. It definitely gives me stuff to think about because I've kind of always thought they were the same thing. And I completely agree with the need for limits and the need for capacity. I mean, this is something I feel like the Lord is working on me on lately is maybe a little bit of pride of like, oh, I can do all the things, I can get all the things done, but the Lord has given us limits. The Lord has given us capacity. And I think it does grow down to like pride, thinking we can do all the things, but neglecting rest, neglecting recovery, neglecting like being mentally present with the people you're at because your brain is someplace else. Like, hello, mom life, strong conviction there, like to be where you are. So, recently I have been working on, well, here's the thing too. When we're saying like we're a work in progress, so like I've got 3 kids and just now 6 years into motherhood, my children are generally sleeping through the night. So even the capacity to like wake up before then, I've had little glimpses of it over the years, but it lasts for like a month or two and then all chaos breaks loose again with nighttime. I feel like the last 6 months has been like a new season of okay, it is I have the capability to get up before my kids. So what am I going to do with that time? I start to spiral with like, well, what should I do? So some things that have helped me as I work on like my morning routine is thinking about routines and rhythms as an on ramp. It is a ramp, and I'm stealing this idea from Lazy Genius. She's a blogger and a podcaster and she has great stuff, but she once described rhythms and routines as a on ramp. It's an on ramp to the feelings you want to feel. So the first step would be to write down, like, what do I want to feel? What do I want to feel when my kids come wandering out in their jammies demanding breakfast? Because it's literally the first word out of Addie's mouth. I want Cheerios with milk is the first words out of her mouth. But what do I want to feel? Do I want to feel exhausted and frazzled and annoyed that I literally have not like put my glasses on yet? Or do I want to feel ready and present and joyful that my child is coming to give me a hug. Well, what do I need to do in order to have those feelings? That is the on ramp. It might not be exactly the same every day, but there are specific things that need to be on my on ramp. I need to have a drink of water. I need to have like stretched my body and physically be awake. There are things that need to be on my on ramp for me to have those feelings. So think about parts in your day of where you want to have a specific feeling. Maybe it's as you're moving into your workday, when you sit down at your desk. Maybe it's when you get to the gym. Maybe it's when your kids get home from school. Whatever that is there a point in your day that you want to have certain feelings and work backwards? Okay. May I also encourage that the things you choose to do, that you have a like best case scenario and a worst case scenario. Now, this I've stolen from Miracle Morning, which is a great book that I have not followed to a T. But the one thing that stuck out in this is Miracle Morning is a 60-minute routine. It's like 60 minutes of like silence, meditation, reading, movement, 66 different things, 10 minutes each. But the one thing he said is, could you make that into a 6-minute routine on the days that it doesn't work? And I have taken that to heart. Okay. Whether I have 6 minutes or an hour, I'm going to drink my water. Now, on an ideal morning, I might stretch for 10 minutes. I might do like a whole like yoga mobility routine. I might even like do some crazy jumping jacks or something. But if I don't have time for that, what is my 2 minute or 1 minute option? I might have not have time to like listen to a whole Audible book, but can I read one page? I might not have time to do my full like Bible study that takes like 15 minutes, but I can listen to an Audible devotion while I put on my makeup, because I'm not going to not do that before I leave the house. Okay. So decide one time what's your best case scenario, but also what's your non negotiable to get you to those feelings. And boy, there is magic in just deciding that in advance. There's also magic in going in the same order, because it takes a lot of mental work to do new things. Our brain loves patterns. Our brain loves predictability. Our brain loves doing the same thing over and over again. It's an ingrown pathway. But if you are creating a new pathway, it's going to take some work. It's not going to flow. But now, man, I drink water first thing. I make my bed second thing. I stretch third thing. And now it has clicked into, this is what I do, and I no longer have to think about it. And now that brain space is freed up for something else. Okay. I've heard it described like laying bricks. Lay a brick every day. You do these things, you lay a brick, and all of a sudden you've got this structure. It's the same way in your brain. And truly, what it is it's kindness to your next version of you. And this is something I speak with clients about when they're like, but I don't want to get up in the morning, or I don't want to do this, that, or the other. And I'm like, but how do you want to feel at 1 o'clock? In fact, I just had this conversation with a client last week, and she's like, when I hit my snooze and I sleep in, I'm cranky at 1 o'clock because I feel like the day is done, and I like it just teeters my day in the wrong direction. And I'm like, well, then that's what you need to think about when your alarm goes off, is this is choosing to feel good at 1 o'clock. This is choosing to feel productive at 1 o'clock. This is choosing to feel strong and resilient. And you are a person that keeps promises to yourself. And every time you do what you say you're going to do, and you do what you promise to yourself, you're making a deposit that you are the type of person that sticks to it. And boy, will that have overflow in every aspect of your life.
Yes.
That's what I got.
What's that?
That's my notes. That I got all that out of 6 lines.
That's amazing. The one thing that I took from that is doing the things in a pattern, because
Yes.
I do have certain things that I do, but to say that I do them in the pattern, I'm going to try that. I'm going to put that into effect and see like how that flows for me.
Yes.
One of the things that I did want to touch about that I forgot to say was, when you're coming up with like, what are your non-negotiables? Like Jamie talked about, like, what do you need to do every single day? The thing that I hear from a lot of people, and I experienced this myself until I put it into practice, is I brain dump. Usually I do it
Mm-hmm.
once a week, but sometimes I have to do it once a day. If I'm finding that I have um not maybe followed through with plugging in the right things like into my margin, and I'm
Yeah.
doing too much working, I'm doing too much overproducing and not enough resting, that is really honestly more my bend than not. I think a lot of years of people pleasing and being an overworked social worker, just working a ton of hours because there's never enough hours in the day when you
Yeah.
work in that field, and a lot of other fields. I don't mean to say that's the only one, but that was just like, that's almost like a norm that's accepted in the social work field, unfortunately. And that was a really hard pattern for me to break
Mm-hmm.
up with, rewire my brain, and I'm still working on that. So when I don't do the brain dump and I don't have the margin in there, like today, I took a drive after work because I was challenged by some technology things with my computer, my laptop. Jamie is like laughing because she's like, knows all too well my frustrations with my laptop. When I get a new one, boy, I'll be happy. But I still am going to have other things that come up, even if I get my new laptop. And I'm still going to need that margin in my day to say, do I have time to go for this drive to kind of clear my head, to get out of my workspace, which I work from home? And I'm an extrovert. I want to see people, I want to do things outside of my home, and giving myself permission to say, go for a drive. Like, just go for a drive and sit by a lake for 25 minutes, soak up some sun, let that be like an indicator that your day is done.
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing that through the routines process, I've learned is really crucial for me to be able to say, I've got more to give to people because I do that. But I had to put the margin in there to be able to take that time and do that. And to see that that was a necessity came about from my brain dumping. So whether you do that like on a certain day of the week, um, one mentor that I heard recently, she talked about how Monday mornings are her brain dump day because she specifically on Sundays she's in ministry, and so literally that's a day where she's on point all day long. And it, when she is done at the end of her day, typically most people think of like Sunday afternoon, Sunday evenings, blah blah blah, to do like your brain dumping. And I think that knowing where it fits best for you is really important, and that's the point of what she said, that her best time is Monday morning to do that, put that into place, and dividing it up into like work and home life, whether you have projects, and then having a miscellaneous thing where there is like those rhythms that you want to be able to like say, like, I want to go out on date night one time this week or two times this month, something like that. I think that's really, really important to do. But having that margin, whether you are a mom with three little kids or a grandma helping raise your kids or a single woman like myself, like you got to take time to say, like, I cannot do back to back to back to back
Mm-hmm.
and expect that I'm going to be well and doing my work that the Lord has called me to do diligently, when I don't take that margin time.
Yeah, absolutely. Brain dumping is so, so helpful. And I have a little bit of an ADD or ADHD brain in that I get distracted easily. So the freedom when it's out of my head and I'm not going to forget about it, again,
Mm-hmm.
it frees up brain space. Yeah, and margin, and for me it's more like overstimulation. Like, I'm an introvert, I would love time alone, and it is in such short supply. And then you layer on like the difficulties of working at home and home being your place. It's like you never leave. It used to be that, okay, I left the office, there was routines of driving home. I didn't realize how much that like drive, listening to music, clearing my head was a routine that transitioned me into the rest of my day. I didn't realize that I would miss that until it wasn't there anymore. Michelle, who's listening live, can probably resonate with like, there's so much to do. She wants to make the bread and clean the house and fold the laundry and all the stuff. And at some point, there's got to be like you taking care of you in the midst of it. And for me, I had to put on, and I should talk about my routine app thing, but I had to put like go eat breakfast as part of my morning routine because I would literally forget to do it. All right. Or drink water because I would forget to do it. Or drink my pink drink because I would forget to do it. And now those are things that are built in. In fact, I have my pink drink like during the kids' nap time, and it is part of my rhythm of like sit down, have something for me, recollect my thoughts. What have I done for the morning? What do I still need to do? I call it preparing for second shift, and it's preparing for the second shift of my day. So not only is that helping my body be more balanced and be more regulated and not get to this overstimulated point and this pinnacle so frequently, it also like the act of sitting down and doing something for me allows me to then show up as the best version of me for the rest of the day. So that app, which I'm not an affiliate, but I would, they can pay me for it if they decide to. It's called Routine Flow and it's free. And I literally saw someone recommend it for a gal with ADHD. And I'm like, I'm going to try that one. And it gives you, so my morning routine, I don't know if you can see this, but you start the routine and it says 1 minute, go drink water. Oh, wait, I'm trying to do yesterday's. All right. It won't let me do it. But I say like morning routine, I push the button and it gives me a little bar graph. For anyone that loves visual timers, it gives me a bar graph. I have 1 minute to go drink my water. And then I click done. And then it says go make your bed. And I have 3 minutes. And I was able to set all these timers up. I have 3 minutes to make my bed. So I'm racing the timer, but I'm staying on task and get dressed. And now it's ideal to do this before the kids get up, but at least I'm like checking these things off, either best case scenario or worst case scenario, they both are there. And there's power in deciding once what your non-negotiables are. So the app, the free version lets you do one routine. I would encourage a morning routine because there is so much truth to how you start your day is how your day goes. What you eat for breakfast, PS, it should be like protein and healthy fats and some carbs. But what you eat for breakfast, you crave the rest of the day. If you start your morning frazzled, it's really hard to regulate your nervous system the rest of the day. So I would encourage you to start with the morning. But like I said, there's other parts of the day where an on ramp may be helpful. And those could be starting points. And start small. Okay. If you want to start an exercise routine. Now, some people can be like, oh, let's do this 3 times a week. And some people can follow through with that. But the majority of clients that I've worked with have done far better doing something small, but doing it every single day. Like I've literally told people, put on your tennis shoes and go 10 steps out your door. That's your non-negotiable is 10 steps with your shoes on. I guarantee a lot of days you will walk farther, but even if you don't, you'll be proud of yourself and your brain will stay in the pathway of this is what we do. So start small, 1 push-up, 1 downward dog, 1 glass of water, start small.
There's so much to that because when this last spring, when I went back east to Pennsylvania to be with my mom and to help care for her, and I needed just like 10 minutes out of the house. Like I just told my brother literally one day, I was like, just give me 10 minutes. I'll be right back. And I just walked I had a timer on my phone set for 5 minutes and I walked that as far as I could for 5 minutes. And then when it went off, I turned around and came back. So it was 10 minutes. And that got me in the habit of where I am now. And I had walked for long, long time. And I mean, I've trained to do all kinds of things, but I had gotten out of the habit and doing just that small thing. And now it's literally one of the things that's on my every single day. Like I have learned not to, how do I say this? Like, it's not a quirk. It's just the way that God made me. Because a lot of times we think of quirks as like bad things, but I put it as like, it's just the way that he made me. And so like, you can't really see it, but I forgot the focus thing. I color coordinate in my planner.
Okay. I like that.
It helps me with like different things. So I'm just like, whenever I've got purple on there, I know that's my movement and that I put that down and I log what it is just to help me to make sure that I'm actually like following through with doing it. So instead of like your like thing that you're checking off, like I just do it in my planner. Just because I'm a paper girl and I don't necessarily love to be attached to my phone all the time, you know, I probably am more so, but I understand the convenience of it and the season that you're in. So I get that wholeheartedly. But just knowing that like purple is movement and pink is nourish and hydrate. I have that down. And then the other thing I have is devotion, and that's in peach. So like I've got the same things, just a little bit different. And that's the beauty of it, is that it can all look different. But one thing I love that you said, as far as starting your second shift for the day and drinking your pink drink, then I'm totally going to use that with some of my moms that I work with, because like
Yes.
that is the best thought process. Because you're like, you're doing something for yourself, and you're like saying like, okay,
Yeah.
this is a way I can reframe it in my mind, because mindset, guys, it is like 1000% of the game some days,
Yes.
where you're just literally like grasping at straws. But if you've got that mindset that's solid and that foundation is there, it will move you through a really struggling time, when you've got a solid foundation of the mindset. So I'm going to use that with the pink drink. I do tell people to set reminders on their phones a lot of
Yeah.
times if they're not in the habit of doing those things, whether it's drinking water, taking their supplements,
Mhm.
in their body. So reminders on your
Yeah.
phone are a really good way to do it too. Just good old alarms. And I have a kitchen timer that I use for my dishes, because I don't love dishes. And I like to hear that ticking noise. And it's just something audibly that like I get it done faster if I have that.
It really doesn't take that long. And that's
No.
like a ADHD thing too, like resisting,
Mhm.
like thinking it's going to take longer. And when I actually timed it, it took less than 10 minutes to completely unload the dishwasher, do the whole next load. Like, and I was like, oh, okay. So so I have my morning routine. I have in my app that I'm using some days, not every days, but I'm working on it, like a 1 hour of house care. So it's dishes, it's laundry, it's tidy up upstairs, it's clear the dining table. That's my like, if the dining table is clear, then I feel like I can function in my home. So again, find out those non-negotiables. I've got my plexus work hour as an hour. It's typically at 2 p.m. It's an hour. And here's the thing, and I heard a friend saying this too, like if you're thinking about work all day, you think you're working all day, but you're not. I was just thinking about all the things I should do. I should post a testimony. I should do this. I should follow up with this person. I should send a thank you card to this one. And there is power in time blocking, in giving it a space, giving it a time, because again, I am all about the brain space and
Yeah.
needing more of it before, because 2 times you've talked about going outside and getting sunshine, and we talked about this in our last workshop about like improved sleep. But if part of your routine can include sunlight in the morning helps you sleep better, because sunlight in the morning, blue light in the morning, means that you produce better melatonin that next night. Fresh air, sunshine, movement, those are all the body and the world. That's all gifts that are antidepressant, anti-anxiety, anti all the things we don't want. So if you can include some of those things, it is well worth your time, because you will be more calm, cool, and collected, and you will need less artificial things to help your body feel good when you're implementing the things that the Lord has already given us. So,
Amen.
yes, again, that app is called Routine Flow. It is, because I know someone's going to ask, it's a blue box with a black and white check mark in it. And it's been working for me. So that's been helpful.
One last thing that I'll leave you guys with,
Yes.
if to review your intentions and your routines, doing that, like you need to be reviewing them to see like if they're working, and then literally saying like what needs to stay, what needs adjusted, and what needs to go. So those three frameworks, literally, like I might even make a graphic for that and just send that out as a part of the recording, because I really think like that's important to like not summarize the whole thing, but a really good thing to reinforce is to say to be intentional, to review those rhythms and routines, and then what needs to stay, what needs adjusted, and what needs to go.
In fact, that would be really good to even like do with an accountability partner. Like, hey, I'm going to work on this, and the other. I mean, I have to do that in my business. And I'm the type of person where I don't want to like do like reviewing and like recapping what went well and what didn't go well feels like busy work. And I feel like I should be doing other things. But I'm in an accountability group right now that required me to reflect on my week and what went well and what didn't go well. And there's actually great value there in not only giving myself credit for did go well, because we so often focus on our shortcomings, but also actually naming, okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z better this week. And I shared that with an accountability partner. And now I know she's going to ask me about it next week. So it's drawing attention versus just head down, pushing through. So,
and I think having a partner in a lot of different areas, because like even Jamie and I were talking when we had our call just to kind of go over like what are we going to discuss. Um, it was like, okay, I can make the graphic and I can write up like the caption as far as like to tell people about it. And then like she was like my editor, I guess.
yeah.
I don't know what you call it. Like how you just like she just took it and rearranged it, like took the Rubik's Cube where my thoughts were all over the place, and she just made it so all the Rubik's Cube colors matched. Like she just had the pretty flow. So like
And I thought I was horrible as writing as a kid. Oh my goodness. I thought I was such a terrible writer.
because the devil wants you to think that where you're
Right?
good at your gifts, he's gonna tell you you're not. Woo!
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Keep it focused on
Um,
self,
right.
speaking my own words back
Oh,
to me.
I have one.
False
I want to
humility.
I have one thing. I had
What else you
somebody
got?
message me and ask me a question specifically about uh new husband, new wife. They just got married and their bedtime routines are completely off. And it like what your suggestion would be to help kind of literally marry the two together so they can literally like coexist on a much better space. She's at 10 o'clock at night bedtime. He's at 8 o'clock bedtime. He's a
Oh,
3 to
wow.
4 a.m. riser. And she's like, I need my 8 to 10 hours sleep. And I'm like, well, we've got another workshop on sleep, which I will send her. And then, but I said that I would ask this question now, just as far as like, I don't have the husband to bounce that like knowledge off of. So you got that
Mm-hmm.
experience and you get stuck with the question.
Well, I'm going to reflect back to name what matters and decide once.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, with seasons of like small children and stuff, there absolutely are times like where my husband and I do not go to bed at the same time. And I mean, we've been married for 11 years, so we're doing all right. But I would say name what matters. If like having time to talk or having time to go through your day or having time to like eat a meal together, like if those things matter, they can certainly happen at a different time of day. But both of them should probably write down, this is what matters, this is when I feel connected, this is when I feel loved, this is when I feel like we're doing life together, because they're probably not the same thing, like in the world of like love languages and what you need, and one might be an extrovert and one might be an introvert, like they might not be the same. But if there's clarity there, then I don't believe it's an issue that can't be overcome. um Heck, if
That's
she's an introvert, 8 to 10 p.m might be the best 2 hours of like alone time and refilling her cup. So I don't want her to think that she should fit a certain mold because society says this makes good marriages. That's not necessarily true. So yeah, name what matters and see what matches and
I
figure out
think
when
you
that fits in.
yeah, I think you nailed it because I do think it's an adjustment period.
Yeah.
They're both actually like in their late 40s, maybe early 50s even. And so like it's a whole different ball game for them.
Yeah.
And they did not live together before they got married, and so they're still in that process of learning
Yeah.
a lot of things and learning. And I feel like it's exciting because they get to like create their rhythms together as a couple and
Mm-hmm.
literally like form new things even. So I think that she'll be blessed by that answer. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, anytime there's a point of like friction, there's an opportunity there. And this is just more mindset coaching, again, speaking to myself. But anytime, a new child, schedule has to change, or a marriage, or a new job, or something, like anytime there's like friction in the schedule, there's also an opportunity to like realign what matters. So
That's good. That's
you're
really good.
supposed to go to daddy if you need anything.
What you
All right, I'm gonna
doing?
mute myself now, but I will let you wrap things up, Erin, okay?
Okay, sounds good. I really don't have anything else to add. I think that we nailed everything that we wanted to. If there is any questions that you guys have after watching this recording, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Jamie. We would love to help you walk through this because I feel like with anything, it's going to feel like that friction or that like uneasiness of like, this just could never work for me because blah, 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 blah. And it goes back to a lot of times like reframing that mindset and saying, like, no, actually, it can. And maybe we need to pick it apart and go smaller instead of thinking that it all has to be redone at once. And that's like with anything, whether it's your health journey, whether it is like your home life, whether it's your work life, a lot of times just going in smaller and starting smaller and getting that brick. Like, don't do the whole foundation. That is obviously, like, we want a solid foundation, but a solid foundation starts with one brick at a time. You don't just all glop them together. They have to like literally lay on top of each other, and doing those things layer by layer is really important and valuable. So,
And just because there's friction doesn't mean you're doing it wrong.
ooh, good word.
Because change is unfamiliar. Doing something different is unfamiliar. Doing something different, building new brain pathways is unfamiliar. And unfamiliar can feel like you're being stretched, can feel like friction, can feel hard. That doesn't mean it's wrong. So that's a take captive your thoughts. This is tough, and so am I. This is hard. This is an opportunity. It's a real work.
This is why I keep her around.
You bring
All
it
right,
out of me, Erin.
what's
You bring
that?
it out. You bring it out in me.
I mean, I'm telling you, when the Lord connects two people that it's meant to be in friendship and connection, he is able to be glorified in the ways that like
Amen.
he gives us like the words that he wants us to share. No doubt in my mind at all about that. So thank you guys very much. We want to keep this short-ish. And if you have any questions, please reach out to either Jamie or I. We would love to talk through some of this stuff with you and help you get into good rhythms and routines in your life. Thanks so much for joining
Awesome.
us.
Have a good night.
Thanks.